there's three things that I think were really powerful I want to underline here. And it's something that you talked about when it comes to your vision and your mission, and that it's getting clearer every single day. Because I know a lot of people are kind of in the dark. They're in the haze. They're not exactly sure what they're going after. They're not sure what their purpose is. They're not sure how to get there, and they feel lost. And even people who are making a ton of money, like a lot of the folks who are listening and our clients, and that lack of clarity leads to even more fear. And when you have that fear, you end up surrendering your decision to somebody else. But as you mentioned, the process of getting clear it's a journey. And it's every single day you're asking yourself a new set of questions to start becoming more clear on what it is that you're going after. And then using strategies like investing in funds, like understanding how to save more money on your taxes. And as you gain more knowledge, you have less fear, and you start being in a position to take control where you're not reliant on other people. Yes, you've got great advisors. It's critical that you have good people in your corner. But I think it's so key to know how to get past that point of fear so that you know who to trust and you have enough knowledge to select the right people to have in your corner.
That's right, man. I think the key indicator of someone's success is their willingness to understand what it is that they're going to do, not willing to have to always do the work, not willing to always have to get your hands dirty, but you have to understand what's happening, right? Like I do real estate on a single family level or a multifamily level. If I get into a fund, if I do a syndication, I'm not going to blindly do it. Like it does not make sense to me. I mean, I think we should all have some fundamental understanding of it. And then that's what my goal is, to help people understand those things. Because if they understand them, then they make better decisions. They make more decisions. I can't guarantee success, but I can tell you that it's better than if you didn't know shit, right? So yeah, that's my goal. Every single day.
It's so key. And it's surprising to me actually how many people have invested with us, who've invested with other people that I've met along the way, and they lack that knowledge and understanding, and they're really going on faith. And faith is a beautiful thing as long as your faith is in the right people. And, we're holding a workshop shortly here in Denver. We're going to be kind of talking through some of this stuff. We do some training online, but the reason I took the time to put that information together is because so many people are lacking that knowledge. And once you have the knowledge, once you're clear on how these things work, you get so much more confidence. So I want to kind of do a little side quest here because we're talking about advisors. We're talking about having the right people in your corner. And obviously you're one of those right people when it comes to tax. How do people go about getting enough knowledge to go and actually select the right tax people? Because I'll give you an example. I've been in business for, over a decade. I've worked with some great CPAs. I've worked with some terrible ones. And I've learned along the way that somebody preparing your tax form is very different than a tax strategist. And yet there is often a fear of taking advantage of this treasure map that the IRS and the Congress put together that indicates how you can actually do what the government wants you to do to save money on taxes. But there's a fear of following it because the consequences are so big. So David, how do people go about knowing enough so they can select the right advisor when it comes to making these tax decisions so that they're not paying all the money, but they're also not in fear of what negative things could come from making a bad decision?
Well, first and foremost, knowing the delineation is very important, which you articulated really well, which is most people go to a tax preparer, even though they may be designated a CPA or an enrolled agent or some sort of professional designation. The vast majority of tax professionals today are just data entry folks. By the way, there's nothing wrong with that, but most of them report history, right? They get documents that have been generated from a prior year, right? You get a W-2, a 1099, a K-1. These are forms that reported after a year has transpired. And they take that information and they put it into a software because they're trained to do that. Then they put out an outcome. Sometimes they can make adjustments along the way, but very seldom can they actually make impact that could actually impact anything at that point because it's already history. And that's just the majority of them. And typically when I look at somebody and I'm trying to grade if they're a good strategist or a tax preparer or a CP, whatever they want to label themselves, it's typically somebody who's proactive in measure. So if they ask them, like for an example, if you called and wanted to speak to me or somebody on my team, and you're like, hey, I want to know if we're a good fit, we would ask you a set of questions and determine right away if we could help you, right? We would say things like, tell me about the type of structure. Are you an LLC, single member, sole proprietorship, or single member, sole prop? Are you a partnership? Are you an S Corp, C Corp? What are you? And then we'll what are your gross sales? What are your net revenue? And then, there's a complex set of questions, but with those answers to those questions will illustrate to me if we can proactively help you or not. If you go to somebody and they don't ask you a set of questions that could understand where you're currently at, and all they say is, oh yeah, I can help you, that's probably not somebody who's thinking for you. That's just somebody who does. I want to think for you because that's my role. It's to think ahead. It's to think, and then asking you a set of questions. What's your goal? How are you going to exit this company? If you're going to exit, right? These are questions. Do you have investments? Are you investing in things? See, what I believe is a strategist wants to take a few, and what I call a three pillar approach. Number one, they should be thinking about how your LLCs are structured, which is entity structure. And if they don't understand that, I mean, honest truth, that's probably not a strategist. That's probably somebody who's just putting shit together, right? That's it. Number two, they have to have strategies. Now, what I find most common when I get on a new client is they'll say, I was with a really good CPA. They were great, beautiful people. But I was always going to them with strategies. Hey, I heard about this. Can we do this? And then they would be like, let me look it up. And then, oh yeah, we could do that. Like, well, then you're being the person that's pushing the needle forward. That's not, I had a client yesterday, for an example, goes to his CPA and says, hey, I inherited this person inherited over $2 million in an inheritance, which was, wow, that's great. What he was not expecting, really wasn't expecting, $2 million. He goes to a CPA who he thinks can help him. And the CPA says, well, I don't know, you inherited, let's just pay the tax. And he's like, there's got to be a way, and the CPA's like, let's just pay the tax. And so he's reaching out, looking to somebody like me, because what I'm saying is there may be a way, and let's try to find it. So somebody who's thinking proactively in a tax strategy. And the last thing is somebody who wants to also look at your investments, because investing has a lot to do with how you avoid taxes and how you mitigate them in the future, like today and tomorrow. See, if you're just going to be told to go make money, that's easy. A financial advisor can do that for you, by the way. Advisors don't understand tax, and most tax people don't understand financial advisors. So if you don't have somebody who understands both perspectives, the majority of the time you're going to be putting your money into a tax deferred vehicle so that one day when you're 60 something freaking years old and you take out all the money, and who knows what the tax rate will be at that point, you'll pay all those taxes. Or we can make investments now that may have tax benefits today that could offset your taxes or at least eliminate cash flow from things like real estate. And we can be proactive in nature because the time value of money is very important, as you know, right? We don't want to, in investing, maybe we can say we want the returns in 20 years. That's cute, right? And everything. But if I've got to invest money today, I have to make a decision that's going to impact my tax return today in most cases, because if I could keep more of my money today, I can leverage that today as well versus leverage it in 20 years when we're taught that we're supposed to. That makes sense. So those are the pillars I'd be looking for somebody who is, if I was trying to figure out if they're a good strategist for me.
So what I heard from there is these are some key things that you should be looking for when you're talking to somebody about tax strategy. And yet, a lot of people are really great at sales. Thanks for listening to the Investor Mindset Podcast. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to watch another, here's one up top. And here's another great video right down below.